in a marriage, you want to be happy about the idea of being physically close to someone. And if there's not any attraction at all, then that would be a very difficult situation to be in. Because simply thinking that someone is very nice or kind, or you share values and all those things, that doesn't necessarily make you want to be physically intimate with them. There needs to be, on some level, I would suggest, at least a bare minimum of attraction. Now, attraction is not enough to last you through a marriage, but it's very, very helpful if there is at least a bare minimum. It doesn't have to be Mr. Universe or Miss Universe. Doesn't have to be somebody you see, across the crowded room and say, oh my God. But it should be someone who the thought of getting physically closer to them sounds nice rather than sounds awful. In a marriage, you want to be happy about the idea of being physically close to someone. And if there's not any attraction at all, then that would be a very difficult situation to be in. Because simply thinking that someone is very nice or kind, or you share values and all those things, that doesn't necessarily make you want to be physically intimate with them. So it is important. Attraction is not the basis upon which you should decide, but ideally you should try to make sure that it's part of the package. At least on some level. But along with that, it has to be someone who shares, at the bare minimum level, your values, your ethics, your priorities. Doesn't mean you have to agree on everything. It's nice to have some variety. But you want to agree on really core life values. What is important? What are the most important things to raise children with? How do you make decisions? These are the things to ask. Because these are the things you really want to know. What are someone's core values? What are their priorities? If they've got difficult decisions to make, how are they going to make them? What's the deciding factor for them? So it helps to have as much overlap as possible. It also really helps to be in the same direction. Where do you envision your life 10, 15, 20, 30 years from now? And where does that person envision it? If you envision a situation 30 years from now where you've had kids and you've had jobs and you've done well and everything is fine and kids are well educated and whatnot, and you've spent a lot of time together, you haven't gone crazy in work and just trying to make more and more and more money, that you've really prioritized family and spirituality and being in nature and growth on every level, seva. And so 30 years from now, you envision that you're, winding down in the office and starting to do more seva, starting to be more engaged spiritually. And he says, 30 years from now, I'm going to be at the peak of my career, and I'm going to be still working 100 hours a week because, every moment, as long as I've got breath in my body, I want to be earning money. There's no such thing as too much money. There's no such thing as enough. 30 years from now, we'll have houses on all the continents. Well, there's nothing wrong with that view. But those two views are going to create a lot of conflict as you start looking at building a life together. So it's important to kind of understand, what do you visualize life being? Another part, it's going to sound really small, but from what I've seen, it's really important. you should be able to laugh together. Being able to laugh at life, at yourself, at each other, at the circumstances you find yourself in, is one of the best things for your physical, emotional, mental, spiritual health. Not having someone you can laugh with is very difficult. So it should be someone who has a sense of humor, who you get along with, who doesn't have to be a stand-up comedian, but just someone who's able to laugh at life, who doesn't take themselves too seriously, so that the two of you, you makes life a lot smoother if you can laugh your way through it. And from those things, love blossoms. Love is that which grows. You're not going to necessarily find someone who loves you in that way immediately, unless you're prepared to date them for the next 10 years, which in most Indian families is a little more than they're prepared to tolerate. Love is something that blossoms. It grows over time. Don't necessarily expect, in this culture with the way marriages happen, that you're going to find someone who already loves you in that way and who you already love in that way. But is it someone with whom you feel that that love can blossom, that there's already a seed? Make sure there's a seed at least. Because without a seed, you don't get a blossom. So there's got to be just a seed that, this can blossom into something very beautiful.